Devlin, Untamed. The platform.
iOS, it's only sport. Martin Devlin, Lachlan Waugh. News, views, interviews, all the day's sporting stories dissected, discussed, debated. All Blacks Test naming day. Team to play Argentina. Couple of significant names changed. All the audio from Coach Razor at the press conference. We stop down and have a good old ding-dong about some of the decisions, some of those selections. We looked back at the last 24 hours from Paris with our man Mark Watson, with special reference to our women's Olympic pole vaulters and the heart-stopping qualifying in the high jump from our man Hamish Kerr. Previewed the Wallabies versus the Box, first of the Rugby Championship test this weekend with our man Jeff Parks. Costo's Corner, Jace, going through all the NRL fixtures from round 73. And Greg Martin kicked off our show as he always does. Getting criticised for criticising the Broncos. Why is that? Greg also with his thoughts on an amazing Australian Olympic team effort with us sitting third on the points table. All of this on the podcast for you people. We begin the show the same way every day. Tablets in hand, I say gather my flock. It is time for a sermon. The All Blacks have been named. Let's go to that mountaintop.
We live in an amazing, amazing world, and it's wasted on the crappiest generation of just spoiled idiots.
The All Blacks have been named to play Argentina in the first of two tests starting Saturday night in Wellington. And yes, there are changes. And yes, changes based on form and performance, or rather lack of it, in the first two tests versus England. I applaud the selectors here. This, in terms of the All Blacks, is quite innovative. Almost unheard of, in fact. The All Blacks selectors, by very definition, are conservative. Over and over again. They'll select the same players, the same side, to give guys one more chance to prove themselves. But there's two significant changes here that are clearly down to the fact that the blokes in those positions versus England didn't come up to scratch. Centre. Rico, gone. He's on the bench. Anton Leonard-Brown takes his place. And this is good. Rico needs a rocket. 30-plus tests at centre, and he just hasn't improved. Change had to happen. I'm not totally convinced that Leonard-Brown is the guy. Personally, I would have preferred Proctor to be given a chance because, again, Anton has had 70-plus tests. He's had lots of opportunities. And ask yourself, how many tests can you remember that Anton Leonard-Brown has played where you've gone, wow, what a performance from ALB. But good for him. He's been given this opportunity alongside Geordie Barrett. Change had to happen, so let's wait and see. Can these two guys combine, and especially Anton, set up his outsides? Blindside, Ethan Blackadder is in. Samipeni Finau dropped altogether. Again, this had to happen. But it is a surprise in that I was expecting Samipeni to get one more chance. He's out of the 23, though. Blackadder wore 7 versus Fiji in San Diego, and fully fit, he's always been the favourite. The biggest challenge for him, though, is to stay fit. If he does, then that jersey is his for the South African trip. Will Jordan is back on the bench again. If he's fit to play, why not play him? I always don't understand this. Guy's coming back from injury. Justin Marshall said to us yesterday that when he was coming back, he always wanted to start the game. If the guy is fit enough to be on the bench, why wouldn't you start him, given the fact that he is our best fullback and probably the best fullback in the world? But the selectors have preferred to stick with Bowden, so we'll see Will Jordan come off the bench at some stage. Overall, 3 or 4 changes, and as I said, 2 major ones in terms of selection. Good on Coach Razor. I mean, for what it's worth, it doesn't really matter. But I do, personally, agree with both decisions.
Devlin.
What do you want? We want information. Information. You won't get it.
The platform.
Lachlan, sports news headlines.
Let's start off with the All Blacks side to play Argentina. That has been named. That match, of course, on Saturday night in Wellington. A few eyebrow raisers in this matchday 23 by Razor. Eyebrow raisers.
I was just going to say the eyebrow raiser.
In the matchday 23 named. Most notably, Ethan Blackadder selected to start at blindside. Anton Leonard-Brown is at centre. Beauden Barrett starting at fullback, even though Will Jordan is set to make his return to Test rugby. He's been named on the bench, has Jordan. He will likely get a good chunk of game time, though, off the bench in the second half, you would think. Adi Savia captaining the side. Of course, Scott Barrett is out injured. As well as that, no Patrick Tuipulotu, so Tupuvai and Sam Darry. That's a rather fresh-looking second row for the All Blacks. The rest of the team looks pretty damn familiar. No other major surprises. Dave McKenzie again named at first 5 on the bench. Josh Lord's there. Another young up-and-coming lock, Cortez Ratama, getting the nod over Noah Hotham. Rico Ioane on the bench, as I say, Will Jordan there as well, but the front row looks pretty damn familiar, as it often does. All right, Olympic Games, some key results involving Kiwi athletes. Track cycling, a silver medal for our women's team pursuit. Ali Wollaston, Bryony Borta, Emily Sherman and Nicole Shields getting silver. Well deserved. They did set the pace on day one, did brilliantly again to make the final. The USA too strong in the end, though. They had a time of 4 minutes 4.306. New Zealand 4 minutes 4.927. In the women's pole vault, Rio Olympic medalist Eliza McCarthy fallen shy of a second medal with a 6th place finish. Fellow Kiwis Imogen Eris and Olivia McTaggart 12th and 13th respectively. Nina Kennedy from Australia getting the gold. Canoe sprint, Amy Fisher, Dame Lisa Carrington were pretty comfy winners in their heats last night.
Devlin.
Oh my goodness me!
The platform.
Scott Robertson at the press conference. In no particular order, but we'll kick it off with the thinking among the selectors about the changes at lock.
Yeah, obviously with Patrick, I had a calf injury, so Sam comes in and Josh Lord's come back from a couple of games, so perfect timing for us. You know, there's some fresh blood coming through with the second rows, the locks, and, you know, Sam's been impressive since he's come in, and Josh has, you know, worn a black jersey before, and he'll get straight up to the mark and standard.
Expanding on that, how do you assess where our locking stocks are at the moment following the retirements of Sam Whitelock and Brodie Retallick?
Oh, it's exciting. I think it's exciting. We've got a big 6'8" lock coming in, and a 6'9" lock on the bench, and our good athletes. And you know, when someone retires, someone gets an opportunity, and it's their opportunity. So we set them up the best we can to perform, and they've done it themselves as well. They've owned the role and the opportunity this week, and now it's Saturday night with a performance, so they can, you know, keep their jersey.
Great response from Scott Robertson, I think, there. And that's the best thing he could possibly have said. You know, fill them full of confidence. Hell, I mean, we can't look backwards. Sam, Brodie, Sam. We've got to look forward, and this is who we've got at the moment. And we are weak in that department, and when I say weak, I just mean weak in that we lack experience. If it was Patrick Tuipulotu and Tupuvai, I would still say that we're not strong in that department because, as I said yesterday, I don't believe that either of those two guys are in the top 10 locks in the world. Now we've got a new man. And exactly what Razor says. I mean, here's your opportunity. They're big lads, and we need height, serious height. What was the thinking about Anton Leonard-Brown coming in at centre?
Yeah, we talked. This is for the best team for this test match against Argentina. Had a conversation with Rico, and it's a competitive position. You know, we've got 2 or 3 guys now that we can pick, players that we can pick, and you know, it's a performance-based sport, and you know, everyone's got areas to work on, and we've gone with Anton.
I want you to play that one again, because do you pick up, people, what I'm picking up on? It's the very last thing that he says. It's a performance-based sport. Give us that one again.
Yeah, we talked. This is for the best team for this test match against Argentina. Had a conversation with Rico, and it's a competitive position. You know, we've got 2 or 3 guys now that we can pick, players that we can pick, and you know, it's a performance-based sport, and you know, everyone's got areas to work on, and we've gone with Anton.
You're not playing well. That's him saying you're not playing well. Simple as that. Performance-based sport, areas to work on. You're not playing well enough. And what was the conversation he had with Rico? Pass the friggin' ball, mate. Changes it loose forward.
Yeah, Luke got a wee hamstring twinge during the week, so Ethan obviously comes into 6 after having, you know, a few games in a row and playing for Tasman, and he was robust as ever in that game. And then obviously Wallace, you know, we're really pleased with him. He had a great 20-odd minutes that he had in San Diego, and he gets to go again and have a bit of continuity for him and play test footy regularly.
So is that Sam Penny with a hamstring twinge? Is that what he means when he says that at the beginning? Luke with a hamstring twinge.
He said Luke.
Sorry, I didn't actually catch that. So it's Luke Jacobson.
I'll butt in and say one thing. It was a very short quote, so I didn't pull it off, but he does say that Samu Penifino just wasn't selected. That's all he says about it.
That's all he says about it? Okay. Yep. And he's not selected for a very good reason, because he was AWOL against England. That doesn't mean he's completely out. I hope it's not a similar situation to Peter Gus here, because I think this guy's got massive potential for the All Blacks, but yeah, he just played without any kind of confidence against England. You saw Will Jordan play on the weekend. How did he go? You thinking around that?
I saw a decent try, his trademark try, and anticipation off the ball. You know, he's in good nick. He's fit. He's ready to go. Obviously, Bowden's been exceptional, and to have Will Jordan coming off the bench to make an impact, special, isn't it? So, a couple of guys and available around the 15 jersey is great.
Yeah, 50 minutes he played, Will Jordan, that pre-season hit out. Sevu and Mark Talia on the wings. Were you tempted at all to look at Caleb Clark?
Yeah, that was a long conversation. A real long conversation for all of us. You know, Caleb took his opportunity, and so did the other two wings. So it's a balance of the two, but Caleb's right there. I'm really pleased with him, and it was fine margins on the call.
I think that, you know, could easily have been Caleb Clark stepping in there on the left wing, because that's, again, an area where I just think against England we just didn't have the bulk. Two wingers who are really tricky, good steppers, all of that kind of stuff, good pace. I mean, Talia's a strong guy, but he's not Caleb Clark. He didn't hang four on the back, does he? Finally, how important that the players know how competitive it is around selections?
I think it's important. Look, I've always mentioned, you know, my job is to create a depth in the squad and the All Black team, so guys can step in, get them so they're ready, and to create depth you need to create competition. To create competition you need to, you know, to train hard and take opportunities when they're given. And it is a competitive market at the moment in the team, and the guys are stepping up to it.
The 2-minute drill.
Well, if you can call 2 minutes, 7 minutes locked on. I mean, let's not split hairs about this, but we will debate the All Black selections from now till news time.
We need to talk.
Let's debate.
We need to talk.
Let's talk about these changes that Scott Robertson has made.
Next!
ALB in for Rico. Is it a good call, or would you rather have seen Proctor there? Two parts to the question. First and foremost, did Rico have to be dropped?
Yes.
Yeah, no debate there at all. 30-something tests for the All Blacks. He's a great player, no question about that, but he hasn't shown how great he is in that position. And he continually makes the same errors every game. They're not handling errors. They're just errors that he's got blinkered vision. He doesn't see the outsides. We give up a lot of chances because he doesn't pass the ball. And the whole point about that role is it's a selfless role where you've got to be looking to set somebody else up.
Yeah, and he's spent his whole life, and it's not a criticism, it makes sense. He has spent his whole life playing a position that isn't about distribution, that isn't about setting up teammates. It's the opposite. You're on the receiving end of it as a winger.
Absolutely.
And as much as he has a game-breaking element to the way he plays, there's more to it than just that when you're playing in the midfield. And his form hasn't been good enough.
Text message. Afternoon, lads. I agree with you about Rico, but is ALB an improvement? I believe if we had better first five options, I'd put Bowden outside his brother. His acceleration off the mark would be great in that position. Not in this test match because Bowden hasn't played centre. Yeah, I have my doubts about Anton Leonard-Brown as well, and I would have liked to have seen Proctor. I think Anton Leonard-Brown is a bit like Rico to me. He's had a hell of a lot of chances and just hasn't really done enough. But hey, it's not my decision. TJ Perenara, the best number 9 in the country right now. Would you have started Cortez Ratima?
Personally, yes.
Same.
But I find it.
But you've got to look at the combination, Lachlan. 9 and 10, it's crucial, right? And that's in Cortez Ratima and Damien McKenzie are both really inexperienced at this level and playing.
Hold up.
No, I know they play for the Chiefs, but I'm talking about playing test matches together. It's a different beast, mate. Okay, so that's why TJ is in.
I would think. I get that, but TJ hasn't played a huge amount of rugby over the last couple of years. Yes, he was very good at Super Rugby level. I don't think he was the best halfback in the country. I think that we all got swayed.
But this is one of those All Black selectors' decisions where they're looking at test match experience. That's what it is.
Yeah, but if that was the case, then the squad for the Rugby Championship would have Finlay Christie in it instead of Noel Hotham, wouldn't it? Because then they would care more about experience.
Well, yeah, but Finlay Christie, they've already explained there's deficiencies in his game and he's lost his form. Ethan Blackadder in for Samipeni. Started at 7 versus Fiji. I've always felt with this guy that they will give him every opportunity they can if he's fully fit. He's kind of been rubber stamped, hasn't he, for a long time?
Well, he was under Ian Foster because in 2021, I get 2021 and 2022 mixed up a lot, but I'm pretty sure it was 2021. He was the starter at blindside. He played a lot of All Blacks rugby, particularly on the end of year tour. He played a little bit in the Rugby Championship, mainly on the end of year tour. And then injuries sort of started to occur a lot more, and that's just his issue through his whole career, as a career hampered by injuries. But he, in the eyes of Scott Robertson now, and clearly Ian Foster beforehand, he is one of the better options at blindside flanker. And the key thing is, as much as Samipeni is beating people up at Super Rugby level with his crunching tackles, he's such a force, he did nothing against England. And I guess this kind of works in favour of Ethan Blackadder. He did play well against Fiji. It was only Fiji. But he did play well. So this is kind of... And it's a bit... I think it's the same with Antonina Brown.
Yeah,
that performance is being rewarded.
Right. Yep.
So, but again, if Ethan Blackadder doesn't step up, then maybe Samipeni gets back in front of him for the South African tests.
Text message in from Murray Mexted. Mex says, Samipeni is 2 inches taller, 8 to 10 kgs heavier. Blackadder is an open side at All Black test level, in my opinion.
Next!
I like the fact he provides that extra height that Mex talks about as well. I don't think Samipeni's gone. But
No, he's not gone, no.
And let's always remember, it took Jerome a couple of years to get to be Jerome. It took Shannon Frizzell the best part of a couple of years before we finally saw the best of him in that number 6 position. Will Jordan is back, but he's only on the bench. Would you have started him?
I would have personally, again, if I was lucky enough to be the All Blacks coach, yes, I would have, but I understand why not. Because Beauden Barrett and Scott Robertson sort of answered it, I think they're in one of those quotes, that Beauden Barrett actually played quite well and essentially hasn't put a foot wrong to be demoted.
Exactly right. Yep.
So then Will Jordan kind of has to earn his spot back.
Will Jordan, is on form the best 15 in the world, even though we saw him on the wing and, playing brilliantly on the wing at the World Cup. But fullback is still his best position.
Well, he wasn't great in the final last year.
No, okay, well, yeah, but you could point the finger at a few people. I mean, about that. Plus, we were down to 12, and so he didn't get as many opportunities. But I also think that
14.
Down to 14 players, sorry. Beauden Barrett also, as you say, hasn't put a foot wrong and made a huge difference in that second test against England when he came on. So if you're looking at your argument, which is you've got to reward form and what they've seen, well, you've got to say keep him in that position.
And Will
but at the
Jordan,
same time, I agree with you saying if Jordan is fit to play the bloody guy.
But also if Beauden can make an impact coming off the bench, then a more lethal running, younger, quicker Will Jordan coming off the bench would also make a huge impact, you would assume.
Greg Marto, former Wallaby fullback and Triple M breakfast host, joins us every single Thursday, talking about the All Blacks selection, talking about the Wallabies to play the Box, also talking about Reece Walsh posing before the Broncos played last weekend. Greg will explain all of that. And cock-a-doodle-doo, our cuzzies across the ditch. The Australians are third on the Olympic medal table with more to win. This is their greatest ever gold medal haul. Here's Marto.
I don't think the Wallabies has been named yet, but that bloke whose photo I sent you, I've never heard of him before in my life, and he's going to be our open side flanker, which is usually the position reserved for the best player in your team, I thought.
Carlo Tizzano, 180 centimetres, 98 Ks. He's not that big, really. He's Michael Hooper's size.
Yeah, but Fraser McRight's only about that size too.
Oh, and you love Fraser, mate. You love Fraser, don't you?
Of course I love Fraser. He gives me leftover gear.
That's he does. Why are you on your push bike? Are you still doing the chippy thing at the moment?
No, because I'm trying not to be as fat as I am.
Right, okay.
You know that thing?
Yeah, I know, mate. It gets to us at the stage, doesn't it? Well, look, it's great to be yakking again after I spent a week in Bali. What I forgot about Bali was that Bali is Aussie's backyard. It's only 3 or 4 or 5 hours for you blokes to get up there.
Yeah, do you understand FIFO workers fly in, fly out? A lot of them don't go back to where they're supposed to live or where they're from. They go and do their work, and then they go and hang out and drink bintangs for 2 weeks in Bali. Then they go back to work. That's an increasingly popular idea.
What a beautiful country. Yeah. The people up there are just beautiful, aren't they? God, that's just the attitude to life, you know. I mean, honestly, I'd love to truck the whole of our country up there just to see what people do, how they live, how they eat, and what they get paid and how happy they are.
Yeah. Have you been feeling very blessed all week, have you?
Yeah,
And,
all of that.
And out to your gods. And so it is. It's amazing. And then we're spoiled by, the Russians are the a-holes these days. The Aussies actually look like angels now. The Russians have moved in there and the Germans. Did you notice many of them?
Yeah, they own everything, mate. They own absolutely everything. Let's talk some rugby. All Blacks have been announced. We've got a couple of changes. This is what I really applaud Razor and his selectors. So they've dropped Rico to the bench and they've also dropped Samipeni. I mean, Samipeni is a beast, but he just didn't front against England, went AWOL, so he's been dropped. And Rico, 30-something tests at centre, just hasn't proved himself, so he's been dropped as well. This is, you know, normally the selectors are quite conservative for New Zealand, mate. So this is actually a guy who's looking at it going, no, I see the performance. I want better. Here's my opportunity. I'll take it. Good on Razor.
Yeah, this is good, mate. I love, because he's not massively changing the combinations. He's just changing it up for anyone who thinks everything's safe and secure, and that's when they lose their hunger. When everyone thinks, oh no, I'm a regular, this is all easy, he's providing an edge. Good on him, mate. That's bold, but it's fabulous. I love it, because you weren't that bloody good against England, so why not sharpen everything up a bit?
I'm glad you said that as well, because we've just got such a rah-rah cheese factory sports media here that there is no quality analysis. We have Justin Marshall on, we have Mex on, and those guys actually tell the truth. A couple of ex-All Blacks who do actually analyse. But anyone that does criticise these days, they get shut down pretty quick in this country.
Oh, is that right? Well, no, you need room there. Oh, actually, no, speaking of which, are we going to talk the Broncos any stage? Because I was bagging on 1 hour in Brisbane here. You're not allowed to bag them. Had a number of callers from, what should I say, within the Broncos trying to shut me down. I said, you can't. I'm an old, you can't stop me. You know, there's some people they can stop, but it doesn't matter if they can't stop me saying things. So that's what your media needs, not a bunch of blokes with a mortgage that has to be paid and desperation in life. No, you need to actually speak the truth if you're in the media, like you, mate.
Well, this is the whole point, and it's interesting that you bring up the Warriors, because the CEO should be very relieved this week, because amongst the Olympic Games, Sean Johnson's retirement, which is, good on him, but it's very conveniently placed. And I say that because with the All Blacks as well, the Warriors should be wearing it this week for an absolutely pathetic performance against Parramatta and a failed season where they've won 8 out of 20 games. And all of that has been conveniently papered over because of Sean's retirement. And that's going to be the focus now to the end of the season, as opposed to what the hell has gone wrong. And for your Broncos, it's exactly the same, mate. Hell, this is a team that got within so close of a grand final last year. The wheels have completely fallen off. You should be talking about this.
Let's talk about that in 2 parts. Sean Johnson, I love the bloke. We've actually got him on our station tomorrow morning because I love him so much. We've never had an All Black on in the last 12 years, 22. I don't think we've ever had an All Black on, a current All Black on our show. Yet I'm going to have Sean Johnson on tomorrow because I love the bloke. Beware playing the Warriors the next 4 weekends, because, we're tied in with the Dolphins, so it all sort of works. But beware, because of he'll lift the Warriors, I reckon, mate. If he can actually run, but he sounds like he's run out of steam. Good on him, because he's been a legend. Let's get to the Broncos. More worried in Instagram likes than in what goes on the football. They've lost their hard edge. Mate, they're a bunch of show ponies. Reece Walsh came out last Saturday before the match. How the players go out and watch the reserve grade and have a look around what the conditions are like. He came out without a shirt on.
Right.
Will that do you?
Yeah.
Is that all you need to know?
Yeah. That's, and look, and I accuse the Warriors of this as well. And is the club a marketing PR department, or are they a serious professional football side? I know that the two things can go hand in hand, but to me at the moment, their focus seems to be opening bars, selling heritage jerseys, selling out the stadium, and all the social media, which is all just rah stuff. Yet on the field, 8 wins out of 20. You see, it's not about should have won games, because that's the invisible column. The only one that counts is the one with wins, and 8 games out of 20 is not good enough.
Have you heard of course you've heard the term. We've used it, results-driven business. I don't care how many bums you get on seats. It's a really parallel story between what happened last year, how good the Warriors were last year, how good the Broncos were last year, and what's going on this year. They think that you just had to turn up and everything goes fine because they've got 250,000 followers on Instagram.
That's exactly it.
We're sold out. The Broncos and the Warriors are very similar patterns, similar-sized cities, similar-sized love, and we all want to love these two teams if we're fans of them. But quite simply, every minute you step out on that field, you have to fight and fight and fight. Like every game starts at 0-0. It doesn't start at Instagram followers, and they just don't get it yet. They need an old... I don't know if you've got one. I don't think you do. An old bloke who to set the standards. And, it might be boring. He might not be good enough to play the game, but play any more in the A grade. But the Broncos don't have it. Someone who sets their standards culturally and physically.
To hear the full interview, download the platform at the App Store. Via Platform Plus, you can go back and listen to the whole show and all of the interviews in full.
The Tight Five.
5 separate sporting topics, roughly a minute or so on each. We might extend, we might go to 90 seconds if we feel like it. But when this happens, shut up, mate. Get on to the next topic. All right. Shut up and get on to the D. We're going to talk about Hamish Kerr. He said he was, well, I was going to say crapping himself, but I've just received an email from Sean saying that you can't use that word on air. But he said it himself, and I'm just repeating and reporting the news, Sean. The pole vault. Are you happy with the achievements of our 3 women and Eliza finishing in a tie for 6th? 3,000 metre steeplechase. I mean, there are some weird events at the Olympics, but that one on the track's got to be the weirdest on the track, doesn't it? I heard yesterday the best ever definition of race walking as a sport. I'm going to bring that to you. Reece Walsh strutting round before the Broncos game with his shirt off, Lachlan. You're a Broncos fan. Are you happy about that? Marto reporting that earlier. Is the discus the biggest throwback to the original Olympia? Again, it's just the weirdest thing, isn't it? Who designed it? How come it got to be the size that it is? And who does that? I mean, have you ever thrown a discus? How difficult is it? If you have, let us know, 5050. And Amy Fisher versus Lisa Carrington. There's more than 5 topics, but we'll just rattle through them. Let's start there. K1 500, Amy's the world record holder. Lisa is the eternal champ at this. And those two are going to face each other on Saturday in the final. Now, it's difficult to sit here and say, hey, I want such and such to win. But Lisa Carrington's got a couple of golds, and if she picks up another gold in the K4, well, she's going to have about 6 or 7 at the Olympic Games. Just remarkable. I'd like Amy Fisher to win this, Lachlan, after seeing that interview last night.
Same, and it's incredible that we've had a text in about it because you brought it up to me this morning, that interview, and when I watched it last night, I was watching it with my flatmate, and I said out loud, geez, she just looks locked in. I want her to win.
I want her to win.
Just the way she was talking, how determined she sounded. She talked a little bit about her journey, and it's taken 8 years. And then if you read up on Amy Fish, you understand all the things that she went through with Canoe Racing New Zealand only a few years ago, which stunted her hopes of getting to Tokyo. And now that she's back, just the way she was talking, she looked so measured as well. She wasn't fluffing her answers, stumbling over her words.
No, she wasn't.
She's locked in. It's kind of like there's a tennis match. It was either at the French Open or Wimbledon, one of the two, and it was Novak Djokovic versus Denis Shapovalov, and this was about 3 or 4 years ago. At the time, Shapovalov, one of the best young players, up and coming players, and they were playing in a quarterfinal or a semi. And after the first set, I think it went to a tiebreak or something. Pretty even game so far. But then after they sat down, Shapovalov was twitching, kind of moving around. He was kind of talking to people, was having some water, eating a banana. Djokovic was just still and just staring straight ahead. I don't know what he was looking at.
And this stuck in your mind, didn't it?
Yeah, staring straight ahead. And when I saw her last night, I thought the exact same thing. She was just, short, sharp answers. She looked calm, measured. She knew what she was doing. I'm totally on her wagon now. I'm totally on her wagon. Not that I wasn't before, but I absolutely am now. And I actually think it'll be really cool. Not to say I don't want Dame Lisa Carrington to win. Obviously, I'd love it. But for her to get beaten by a Kiwi.
Yeah, that would
it's like a passing of the baton kind of moment.
Gold and silver would be fine by me. Hamish Kerr, were you holding your breath last night? I mean, Hamish was, he's a great friend of the show. He's always really generous with his time. We've had him on the show half a dozen times. I follow his career with much interest. I love his Barnet. I mean, that thing's magnificent, isn't it?
Well, Hamish Kerr's here.
Yeah.
Well, it's well structured.
It's absolutely superb. Yeah. I mean, he looks like a newsreader, is what he does. He looks like Simon Dello before
and he's got the smile to go with it as well. He's got this lovely little sort of curl that goes up his face. Yeah. Well, now we're just gushing over how good he looks.
But no, 2.2, then he misses, and I'm thinking, oh, okay, well that's okay. He's missed it again. Yeah. And if you miss it again, you're out.
So there was the Kiwi broadcast of it, which had Andrew Dewhurst as commentator. I was watching, and I didn't actually realise it at the time. I was watching the global global feed, which didn't show all his jumps. So the first jump I saw was his third one at 2 metres 20, I think.
Okay, so you missed out on the
And so I
intensity.
was like, Hamish Kerr, here's your first one. And then the commentator's like, he's got to wake up. He's really got to get his head in the game here. I'm thinking, oh, geez, what's going on? And they said, if he misses this, he's out. I was like, oh, no. So I had about 10 seconds of horrible nervousness. But he made it. And then the commentators are a bit scathing, though.
Well, I tell you what, he did 2.24. He missed the first one with the sunglasses on, took him off, got 2.24. Then he sailed over 2.27.
Well, on his first attempt, yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, so he was finally firing at the end there, but it was bloody close. Are you happy with the results in the women's pole vault? Eliza tied for 6th. I'd say
I'm
like I know, like a
stoked for
first
Eliza.
name basis, because we have Eliza on the program a lot as well. I'm just thrilled for her too, but I'm also thrilled for the other two, Imogen and Olivia, that personal best and getting in that final. And plenty to improve upon, but that's, your first Olympic Games or whatever. That's a hell of a result, and we got really close. We got pretty bloody close, which is probably as good as it was going to get.
To have 3 pole vaulters in the final was incredible.
Yeah, but that was because of the quirks of the countdown.
Oh, was there another country that had 3 in the final? Genuine question. I'm actually not sure.
No.
I don't think so.
No.
So that's pretty good.
Yeah, it is.
It's for New Zealand.
Yes.
We're rather small.
Yeah, okay, all right, good point.
And all 3 of them finished in the top 13. So
yeah, okay.
I guess you could say we've got 3 of the 13 best female pole vaulters in the world.
There you
That's
go.
quite incredible.
That is quite incredible.
Imogen Arias hit a PB, and Eliza McCartney, of course, finished 6th, was it, in the end?
Yep,
5th or 6th?
tied 4.
Look, for Eliza, and she said it herself in an interview with Sky Sport not long afterwards, where she said, she was asked, do you think you could have given more? And she said, well, yes, but not really. Yes, in the sense that I know I can do better, but no in the sense that I had such a screwed up lead-in that that's pretty much the best I could do. And so in that sense, well, I'm stoked that Eliza got to go there, because many of us, including herself, thought she's done.
She's done, yeah.
She had issues with her Achilles, and then there was a hamstring problem, and she just couldn't get healthy, and it was like, oh gosh, what could have been a golden girl for the Olympic Games is now not happening. But she got back there.
Yeah.
That's a win in itself.
The 3,000 metre steeplechase and the discus. I'm going to ask Watto about the steeplechase, because it's just the strangest event, isn't it? That they have a water jump, you go through the water jump. It was brilliant to watch. If you haven't seen it, just watch the last lap, because the guy that was going to win, and then got in a tangle and ends up on the track, and it's a terrible fall. But it was kind of one of those ones where the American guy goes early with about 300 metres, little white dude, little leg pumping hard, and you just kind of think you're going to get mowed down by the Morocco, you're going to get mowed down, and then this big, tall, lanky guy comes flying around the back, and you're thinking, he's going to pass, oh my God.
Yeah. Just motoring through, and then he trips over a hurdle, I think.
Yeah, great description, Martin. That's just obviously, I know a lot about steeplechase. The discus, though, have you ever thrown a discus?
Yeah, I competed at athletics club.
Oh,
when I was
here we
quite
go.
young.
I've competed at athletics.
No,
club.
I did. I came.
Lachlan Waugh. Hey, little guy. Here,
Okay.
throw the plate.
Let me walk you through my athletics journey. Started at the age of 8, joined a club, and I was there for 3 years. Now, I didn't, I got to the age where I had to start taking it seriously.
When did you beat Rico Ioane? What was that at?
I did. I beat him in long jump.
Yeah, and he got all nasty about it too.
He
actually.
got nasty.
He got
He
nasty
threatened to
about it.
beat me up.
There you go. Yeah,
This is
Rico,
why
I
I
hope you remember
I
that. That's why Scott Robertson dropped you, Rico.
But but he was twice the size of everyone. Like he was 6'2" at the age of 10. It was ridiculous. But no, I have thrown a discus, and it's hard. But I was a kid. I was really young. Like it'd be easier now, but I was really, because they're heavy. And they're not nice to throw.
No, look, I mean,
or
is anyone
to
out there
swing.
throwing it? Yeah, I looked at it last night and I just thought, how on earth can you flip that thing?
But I've never done the
70
spinny thing.
meters.
When you're young, they don't want you to do the spinny thing because you can't control yourself. So you do this thing where you sort of swing back and then forward, and then you let it go.
Well, there's a marble statue somewhere in Greece, isn't there?
Discobolus.
Oh,
It's a famous statue.
The nude guy with the...
Yeah, where he's leaning down. I don't
the
think
discus in his
the
hand.
original one's still around, but they've got mock-ups of it in different European
Yeah, it's
museums.
one of those bizarre sports that you only love every 4 years.
Javelin's a bit the same, isn't it?
Well, the hammer throw.
Yeah.
It's not
Why
even
are
a
you
hammer.
swinging a rock?
You should throw a proper hammer. If you're going to throw a hammer, throw a hammer.
What about like an axe-throwing one? That'd be great, wouldn't
Well,
it?
okay, well, these are the sports they should add to the Commonwealth Games.
That'll be at the Canadian
That one that
Olympics.
they do, the old Scots do, where they get the power, the full power pole, and they flip that big bugger. You ever seen that? I also like.
What about the cheese going down the hill?
wood chopping? Bring that in, especially that one where you've got to climb the pole and you've got to whack the little bits.
Oh,
in.
and you put the platform on
That's
yourself and you
brilliant,
stand on
mate.
it,
I
and
love
it
all that.
defies the laws of
Absolutely
physics.
love all that.
Yeah.
Reece Walsh struts around before the Broncos played on the weekend. You got dicked by almost 50 points with his shirt off.
Hey, we lost by 34.
They put 46 on you, Lachlan.
Yeah, but we scored 12. No, we scored 18, sorry.
Yeah, and
we lost by 28.
The Warriors only lost by 10. Even though it was 30 to 4 with 9 minutes to go.
There's a difference between the margin of 28 and 50, all right? I'm just correcting you there.
Reece Walsh, does this say everything about where the Broncos are at the moment? Look, I know he's a young man and everything, but have some respect, mate. Your team is getting walloped at the moment. You're sliding down the table. You're going to watch your reserves play. Do you need to strut around without the shirt on? Why are you doing that? You're doing it for what? You're so damn hot you can't wear a shirt, or you're doing it because you know the attention that's going to happen
Because he wants the attention. That's why he's doing it.
That's why he's doing it.
In terms of the Broncos, and I'm the first to say this, you know this, I'm not like Warriors fans who are still, half glass full about the team and their prospects. I rip into my Broncos. Their issue is they think it's like they lost a grand final, and it's like they carry themselves as if they won it.
And same as the Warriors, we're top 4, and I think all season the attitude has been we're a top 4 side because they're constantly being told by their rah-rah cheesy fans that they're a top 4 side. Well, guess what?
They're being told the Brisbane
13.
That's the Warriors' problem. The Broncos' problem, I think, is the media. The media just slurped them up last year. Oh, the greatest new, the offensive style of this team. Reece Walsh is the next superstar, the next $1 million player, all this, and they just bought into it. But this year is good. Because now, guys like Reece, who is horrendously out of form and he's carrying himself like he's a superstar, you need to understand it's hard. It's not easy, all right? Things aren't going to go your way.
Target on your back.
Just look at someone like Michael Ennis. It took him about 14 years to finally win a premiership.
He needs, Reece Walsh, to just play a few really consistent games where he's 7 out of 10. You don't have to be a superstar every time you get the ball in your hands. Somebody's got to tell him that.
The best thing that actually, because he's been rumoured to be signing an extension, a massive extension all year, but I don't think anything's ever been confirmed. And the great thing about his drop in form and the team missing the finals is if I'm the CEO of the Broncos, David Donaghy, and you got the head of football and you got the head coach Kevin Walters, I'm sitting Reece down saying, well, we were going to give you $1 million a year.
Even Prez
is agreeing. We were going to give you $1 million a year. We're not now, okay? Let's talk again maybe in April or May next year when you've actually put together some good, a good run of form over the course of 8, 9, 10 games. That's what they should be doing now.
Every day throughout the Olympics, our man Mark Watson providing an OG update for us. He's a commentator with much experience calling Commonwealth and Olympic Games. Last night we saw Hamish Kerr. Oh, it was so close. It was so intense. It was so tense. Qualifying for the high jump, the number 1 ranked HJ in the world. He sailed over 2:27, but he had his heart-stopping moments at 2:20, twice in fact. And then this morning, the women's pole vault. Watto, all over both of those. You got it exactly right yesterday on the show, mate, as far as the pole vault went. Olivia and Imogen doing their very best, but getting over 460. I mean, that was a hell of an achievement. Eliza McCartney, probably our only realistic medal prospect, and she missed out at the big jump too. So 6th place, equal finish for her.
Yeah, still a remarkable achievement. I mean, you think about New Zealand at the Olympic Games, really until, I guess really until Dame Valerie Adams came along, we never really had a point of view in field events. And then suddenly we saw what happened in 2016 and, suddenly pole vault became sort of mainstream in New Zealand. I just want to say about Imogen and also Olivia McTaggart, huge futures ahead of them. I mean, jumping 460, they just got another 4 years now to just continue to build, continue to develop strength, continue to just add layer upon layer when it comes to the coaching side of it. They've got to get overseas. They've got to compete regularly. They need to be on the circuit. They've got to be consistently jumping 480. If you're consistently jumping 480, that means on a good day you can jump 490, and that is going to put you definitely in the medal. But 480 is really the minimum if you want to put yourself in contention. Yes, so, we come up, I guess, slightly short. But when you do go back through and you put 6 people in a room, it's not a lot, is it? And every country in the world has a track and field program, and every country in the world has that athlete that's targeting every sort of track and field event. I think it's, I still think it's a really, really good achievement from all 3 of them, and New Zealand should be proud of them. Again, we lose sight of it. We just sometimes can be a little bit arrogant, just assuming, that somehow we're entitled to picking up gold, silver, and bronze, and that's not the case. But certain sports just getting inside the top 10 at the Olympics is a great achievement. I certainly put the pole vault in that same category.
Well, you're exactly right with that, because I'm now going to just pivot to Hamish Kerr, who was one jump away from being knocked out in the qualifiers, and that was at a height 4.2, which he could jump in his bloody sleep without shoes. He could jump it in jeans, mate. And yet, just the pressure of the occasion, and watching it last night, it was intense, Mark. Because these guys, their event gets interrupted by all the other stuff that goes on the track. So, and if people don't realise that where they set the high jump up, you've got to run across the running track. So if there's any races going on or any heats going on, you've got to wait for all of those men and women to run past, and then you've got to do it, and you've only got a certain amount of time. And it's all about your absolute rhythm, your plant. It's about where you are mentally. And you could tell it was bugging him, and it was getting to him. And then, thank goodness, he sailed over there. Then he sailed over 424. Then he sailed over 427. And that was the form we kind of expect from him. He's ranked number 1 in the world, and he goes into that final now full of confidence. But those are your margins, mate.
Oh, yeah, and it's a sport. There's so many technical components. From the moment you take off, you've got to make sure that you've got your foot placement correct, that your takeoff leg is as close as where you want to be to the bar, and that's all about timing of the run-up. It's all about speed. It's that sort of typical thing of the horizontal versus the vertical in terms of your leap, and no different to what you might see in the javelin as well. Look, it's always hard qualifying, because as much as you think you're in the mindset, you're just assuming that you're going to get over 227, 228, 224 or whatever it was. Look, I remember Brandon Stark, who actually won the Commonwealth Games in 2018. He's the brother of Mitch Stark, the cricketer, and then come 2021. In fact, no, it was 2016, actually missed out on qualification completely, didn't actually qualify and went out at 224, then won the Commonwealth Games in 2018 and actually went quite well in Tokyo. But then again, you go back to him, Brandon Stark, he was probably the favourite for the gold medal at the Commonwealth Games in Birmingham, only for Hamish Kerr to beat him. That was only won in 224. Look, these guys, it's a real fine line between, do you start coming in at 228 and get, comfortable and just get your rhythm on the track, but you're also going to burn a few matches in doing that. Don't underestimate how much energy is used every time these guys do take a jump, but get yourself in the game, get your rhythm in, get your technical side of it. The biggest mistake I think you can make is coming in at too high and then just with your 3 jumps and you're gone. So it'll be an interesting tactic to see how he does play it. Look, a little bit, he's going to have to probably be 236, which he's done a couple of times now. He's going to need to be at 236 to be in medal contention. That's the equivalent of, say, 480 in the pole vault that we just talked about with the girls. I think 238, 239, your medal. But as you said yesterday, as you mentioned with the qualification, we are dealing with the smallest of margins, and there's just no guarantee that on the night you're necessarily going to be at your best. There will be that one athlete that surpasses all expectation. There will be those athletes that get themselves in the zone. Then you go and have a look at Barsham of Qatar. You go and have a look at Gianmarco Tamberi, the 2 that shared the gold medal. They are consistently 236, 237, 238 when it comes to this, and that's what they're up against. Can Hamish do it? 10th at the last games. He's capable. But yeah, I just have a feeling again he might just come up slightly short. I can certainly see him finishing 4th, 5th and 6th to medal. He's going to basically need to jump a personal best on the night. He's going to need to just go higher than he's ever gone before. What does impress me about him, because he did it back in Tokyo, he is a guy who certainly knows how to do it on the big occasion, and he did it in Tokyo. He broke the New Zealand record that night in 2:31. So he's won the world indoors, he's won the world, he's won Commonwealth Games, so he does really have a big competition mentality. He knows how to win on the world stage, and I think that's half the battle.
We need to talk.
Lachlan?
We need to talk.
What is more chance of happening? Just before we get into that, though, how about that from Amy Fisher? Isn't that just so refreshing to hear? That she doesn't want to paddle with fear, that she wants to light her lane up, and that she wants to be joyous when she does it. It's just so positive, isn't it? That she's just so full of confidence, knowing what she's done. She's, as you said, ticked every box, no stone left unturned. And now she just wants to go out there and actually do it. And I bet there's going to be a lot of nerves, and I bet there's going to be a lot of trepidation as well before that final, because as she said, she's worked this for 8 years. But you want to see the fire in the eyes. You've got to see the pictures to go with that. I hope you're impressed by that. I was blown away by that.
Next!
What is more chance of happening? Amy does it. She wins the gold medal ahead of Lisa Carrington, or The Warriors beat the Dolphins Sunday 4 p.m, Lachlan.
What? Amy Fisher gets gold. So the current world record holder in this event gets gold, or the Warriors way down the NRL table beat a team that are on the cusp of the top 8
That have lost
on
their
the
last
road.
two. That have lost
I
their
don't
last.
care. How have the Warriors been doing lately?
Not great. Not that great.
I'm absolutely backing Amy Fisher in that sense.
What is more chance of happening then? Amy does it, like you're calling it. Or the Wallabies, who have won 7 of the last 10. 7, Lachlan, of the last 10 tests against the Box in their own backyard, do it again in Brisbane. What is more chance of happening? Amy hasn't raced a K1 final against Lisa Carrington before.
Well, if you count the event earlier this year, which I think was a World Cup race, World Cup final, however you want to describe it.
The Olympics is something different, mate. I mean, this is the only thing I fear for her is that
More chance that Amy Fisher wins.
the pressure of it. But looking at her last night, I just think that whatever she's done, she's confronted that. She's stared it down. She's got to stare it down on course on Saturday, but it was so impressive watching her in that interview last night.
Next!
What is more chance of happening finally then, Lachlan? Amy Fisher does do it. And I'm happy with a gold-silver finish for New Zealand. And as you said earlier, if anyone's going to beat Lisa Carrington, I want this woman to be able to do it. Or Argentina beat the All Blacks in Wellington on Saturday night. What is more chance of happening?
Argentina are not beating the All Blacks. Sorry, not happening. Move on.
They beat us in Christchurch.
I don't care. That was 2 years ago. It's not happening again. You know, that's like saying, oh, well, Japan beat South Africa in 2015. They can do it again. No, they're not going to do it again.
Oh, did they? God,
Yeah,
Japan
know.
are just rubbish these days. I mean,
know.
Eddie Jones.
And who was their coach at the time? It was Eddie Jones.
Yeah, it was.
In 2015 at the World
That's
Cup.
what got him the England job.
Exactly.
Because he was nowhere.
There was a documentary made about him in that win.
Really?
Yeah. No, it was a film. And Timmy Roy Morrison played Eddie Jones.
Oh, stop it, mate.
I'm not kidding. Look it up.
The 2-minute drill.
They don't even look alike. I mean, they're both bald, but, you know.
Timmy Roy Morrison is Māori. Eddie Jones is part Japanese, isn't he? Ron Barr, Sports Byline USA, does his own syndicated radio show to 20 million listeners every day. He's a good mate of the show. We thought it was about time that we got him on and talk some Olympic Games because the United States, as a country, they don't actually play a lot of team sports. Every 4 years they get together. Look, they're going to either be top of the Olympic medal table or in the silver medal spot themselves. They're currently sitting number 1 at the moment. They win so many gold medals. They've got 94 medals in total at the moment. Doesn't mean that much to them, though. American sports fans, they love their NFL, they love their NBA, they love their baseball, they love their college sports. But then they've got these athletes like Simone Biles and Noah Lyles winning the 100 metres and Kate Ledecky. So does it actually stop the sporting nation, the Olympic Games? Ron on that. Today in 1992, the Dream Team won Olympic gold, and it still remains one of the most iconic Olympic moments, doesn't it? Probably the last 50 years.
Yeah, I would agree with you. Back in '92, they beat every team they played. That was when the first Dream Team was playing in the Olympics. They beat them by 44 points, and they're doing just about the same thing, at least this time around in the Olympics. But the rest of the world has caught up to the United States in basketball. There's some, a lot of talent. I saw a stat in which there was in the dozens, the number of European and South American and Asian players that are playing in the NBA now, and it says an awful lot about how the game of basketball is now received and perceived around the world. So it's fun to watch some of these other teams. But when you put together an all-star team of the NBA players in the right way, now you got to remember the U.S. Olympic basketball team really wasn't in camp more than just a month, and you try to blend all these super talented players together, it can be challenging, and it certainly has been in the past with some of the U.S. performances in the World Championships and even in the Olympics the last time around. So, but Steve Kerr is Steve Kerr, and he certainly understands this. You saw what he did with the Warriors. You saw what he was on with a couple of the teams, Chicago Bulls, and winning the NBA championship. And so he's brought the right attitude. He's got the right talent, and he's using them in the right way. And the end result is what we've got. The United States looks like they're moving to another gold medal.
How important is that for basketball in America? I mean, just in terms of popularity. I mean, the NBA is obviously just, it's just increasing at a rate of knots. Would it be any dent to it at all if these players didn't bring home that gold medal?
Wouldn't matter at all. There'd be disappointment, but this is something that takes place every 4 years, and I think you know as well as I do, Marty, the length of being able to focus on something by anybody these days is probably a one-day media cycle. So not really. And besides that, it's interesting, but I've said this before. I've watched sports become very provincial. I remember when I used to cover the Super Bowl and nobody cared. Or say nobody cared. They all cared about the Super Bowl. But then I saw a change when I was down in Miami covering the Super Bowl with the show down there. And unless their team was in it, they really didn't want to talk about it. And that's generally speaking the way it is for sports in this country. We have so much sports and we have so much competition. We used to have an off season when it came to sports coverage. We don't have that anymore. And so, people tend to forget even who the NBA champs were this past season. But it will not hurt anything as far as... I'll tell you what's going to help more than anything else, the NBA. They're going to put franchises in Europe, possibly in Asia, and maybe even down in Mexico City. And that's going to make it a truly worldwide sport. And so I think that's something you're going to see. The same thing's going to happen with the NFL. They're already playing games in London. They're playing games elsewhere. And so it's going to be a worldwide sport as well.
Just in terms of the Olympics and what it means to United States sports fans, do people care about it as much as they do their own franchise sides, their NFL sides, their NBA sides? And the sub part of that question is when somebody like Simone Biles cuts through or a Kate Ledecky cuts through, how much coverage does that get?
Well, in the case of Biles, to be specific, because of the story of what happened in Tokyo with the twisties and her making a comeback, the thing about the Olympics, and I think you probably have seen it over the years, is that these are stories about not only performance, but human stories.
Yes.
There was the U.S. cyclist who only just 7 years took up cycling when she was also going to Harvard. I mean, those type of stories are the ones that grab the American listeners, somebody that overcomes adversity. And I think also if you take a look, everybody talks about the Olympics, but in a couple of weeks it's going to be the Paralympics. And there's some great stories there, even some better than what the Olympic athletes are. So Americans are interested in that sort of thing. Everybody likes an underdog story.
Yeah, true. Yep.
You can always find lots of them, certainly. And then when you see the pro athletes like the basketball players, mingling with the average athlete and really supporting them and going out and watching their actions and everything else, that's something that the Americans buy into. And also one other thing you say about are they interested in the Olympics as much or more than their own local team? The answer would obviously be no, but there's a simple answer to that. The Olympics are 2 weeks. An NBA season is 6, 7, 8 months. Football season, the same thing. So that's in the front of American sports fans almost on a daily basis, your local team, and they're always going to be interested in that. But this rises above it because most of these athletes are not getting paid what you see the pro athletes getting, even in college sports. The NIL, which is a big story here in this country about the licensing of college students, college athletes, they can make a lot of money. They just had a Stanford player who was a softball player who took the Stanford Cardinal college university team to the College World Series, and she just went into the portal and jumped to Texas Tech. And why that? Because she's going to get $1.2 million next year for name, likeness, money. Now, that was something that was not able to be done with college athletes until about the last 3 years. So, that's why the Olympics, you talk about amateurism. There is amateurism. You're getting it in a lot of different sports. There's skateboarding. There's obviously surfing. There's ping pong. I mean, those are things that most people would not bother to watch, except for it's in the Olympics.
That's our podcast for today. Thank you so much for listening. If you want to listen to the entire show, 1 till 4, Monday to Friday, download the Platform app, and via Platform Plus, you can go back and listen to whatever shows over however many weeks at your leisure, at your listening pleasure. Platform Plus. First thing to do, though, is download the Platform app.
Devlin.
Unbelievable. Incredible.
The Platform.